All right, don't get too comfy because I have something you guys are going to do. But first, I wanted to talk about those last two songs. Like, how ridiculous is it that, one, we have a God that pursues us so much that we, like, even when we reject him, he's still coming after us. And then on top of that, you complement it with no longer a slave, where we don't have to fear anything because we know God's at our back. He's got our back. I just think those two songs are so powerful. All right, so, oh man, gotta make some space. We gotta get rid of this candy somehow. All right, so I want everyone up front, up in this area, right here, just right here, in this open area. All right, so I don't know if you guys have ever played this game, but I'm going to ask a question, and if your answer to that question is yes, you're going over there. If your answer to that question is no, you're going to go over there. So, as a test run, if you have ever played this game before, go now.
What? What's this game?
Wait, do I go over here? If I have?
Yes, you've played it. No, you haven't played it before. Am I really loud? Sorry.
Going over there now.
Because we have played it.
So they've played this before, so they know what they're doing. So for you guys that don't know what you're doing, now you know that if your answer is no to the question, you're over here. If it's yes, over here. I want you guys to be 100% honest in these questions. There's not a wrong answer to these. It's just personally your answer to these questions. All right, first question. Who here likes to buy things?
Nick. Liar.
Wait, is it you don't like to buy things, you don't like to pay for things?
Buy things, like you like to get stuff.
Oh, yeah.
No one likes to pay for stuff.
All right, I think that's pretty unanimous. Okay, I figured. All right, so with standing there, do you work for that money that you get things with? Is that your money that you get the things with? Yes, if it is. No, if it's not yours. Like, do you work for that money?
Can I go in the middle? It's like 50-50.
Primarily, the stuff you get. I'm going to go over here because it's my wife's money. I'm going over here because it's my wife's money. All right. Next. When you get something, have you given a review for something, is the question. Verbally or like on a review site, like Amazon, and you go in and review the product. Or you're talking to someone and say, hey, this is a really good product. You should really get this. If you have reviewed it verbally or like by writing it over here, if you have not, over here.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, like if you've ever recommended it. All right. Now let's look at the flip side of that. Who has checked for reviews before buying the item? Yes, you've checked reviews. No, you don't check reviews. All right. Now we're going to kind of switch. Who came to Encounter hoping to get something from it this weekend? Yes, you're hoping to get something, and it's about, I want to get something out of this. I want to get fed by this. I want this. I want something from this. All right. So with worship, how many of you felt you got something good from worship tonight? Yes, I got something good. No, I didn't really get anything from it. All right. these next questions, actually, I want to pull up the staff up here too for these ones. I want you guys to come up and play these ones, because these ones are going to be kind of difficult for some people, some probably not. But these ones you have to be honest with these. All right. Who has gone away from a church, worship, service, or event and said, I really didn't get much from that today or much from that tonight? Yeah, this is yes. Or like that message wasn't really great. I didn't really get anything from that.
Would you say that?
Pretty unanimous. Next one. Who has ever changed? This is, if you have, you'll be over here. If you have not, you'll be over here. Who has changed changed your church because you weren't fed at the church that you previously were attending? If you have done that, you've left the church because you weren't being fed over here. If you haven't left the church because of that reason, over here, then you would be with no, I haven't left the church. All right. I would also be over, and yes, I have left the church for. How about who has left a church, whether it be for a day, for a service or something, because someone said something that you didn't agree with, so you didn't want to be there for that day? Yes, you have done that. No, you haven't done that. I've done that. A lot of these questions came from things that I was personally guilty of. And then, last question. Last question. How many of you feel that tonight during worship that you were giving God 100%? If you thought you were giving God everything you could in worship over here, if you don't feel you gave everything to God in worship over here.
Oh, very good. High five, Abby.
See, the point of these questions is that if you answered yes to a majority of those first 9 and answered no to that last one, we're a victim of a consumer church mindset. And that's what I'm going to talk about tonight. So you guys can go back to your seats. From what I saw, that was actually a majority of us. We were victims of a consumer church mindset. And it's not something that we mean to do. It's something that happens. And tonight, I want to kind of bring that to light. Those of you that were at the famine, I touched on this at the famine. But I want to go more in depth with what consumer church is. So first, to understand consumer church, you need to know what is a consumer. Do you guys know what a consumer is? If you consume something, what do? You take it in, you get it, you receive it. Think of the context of consumer church. I'm going to church to do what? To get something, to take something from it. Officially, because it said it on Google, officially, consumer is a person who purchases goods and services for personal use, or a person or thing that eats or uses something. So in a broader perspective, consumerism is the protection or promotion of interests of consumers. So both the church and the church body are guilty of consumer church. Because the church body is so much, oh, well, what did I get from the message today? Or what did, that worship, it really wasn't for me. It might have been good for someone else, but it wasn't for me. Or on the church side, how can we bring people in? What can we give them? What can we promote to bring them in? This is consumer church. A good example of, I guess, the switch from what it really meant to minister, what it really meant to really be after the heart of God, and switching into consumerism would be like when I was in college, for example. Here's a good example. When I was in college, I was going around Pennsylvania, Delaware, Virginia, and I was going to different churches, events, helping out with different churches, doing all that stuff. That was in college where I didn't have to worry about paying the bills. My car was paid off, so all I had to worry about was gas in the car. Didn't have to worry about getting health insurance. Didn't have to worry about a student loan payment. Didn't have to worry about a mortgage. All these things that were holding me in one place. So at that point, I was pushing out to the world. I wanted to go change the world. My heart was for changing everything. But then all these bills start setting in. I turned 26, and now I have to have my own health insurance because I can't live off of my parents' health insurance. So your mindset from how can I change the world starts switching to, okay, so how can I change here? So then you start looking for a church. In your church, you start looking at, okay, so who's the speaker? Is it something that I agree with? Is it something that are they energetic? Are they going to feed me? Am I going to get the proper knowledge base? Are they going to have small groups that I can attend when I can? How can I fit this into my busy schedule? Now, do you see where that switch has happened? We've gone from heart for God and heart for missions, heart for going out and bringing someone with me because, I'm concerned, are these guys going to be living eternally? Are they going to hell? That was what I was concerned with before, about how can I make sure the least amount of people go through the gates of hell, and most of them start going through the pearly gates. That was my concern when it was about God and what can I give to God. But then, as life happens, consumerism starts to set in. Okay, now I got to figure out how to meet my needs. So now God's plan kind of gets pushed to the side, and I start thinking, okay, first I need to make sure I'm provided for, and then, I can work God in here. If I can fit a small group in, if I have time, maybe if I have Monday nights open, I can go help with Epic. And all of a sudden, my mindset switched from what can I give of myself to God to when can God give me what I need? And that's where my mindset all of a sudden switches to consumer church. And it's not something that I intentionally did. It wasn't like I sat there and I was like, I think I'm going to go and do this consumer church thing. I really think it's better if I go with this whole perspective of what can I get. That's not how I approach that. It's just life. You let life get you busy. Life gets you stable in one place. And next thing you know, I'm trying to fit God into my life. So church becomes this place that we go to get fed. Newsflash is church isn't for us. We like to believe that church is a place for us, but it's not a place for us. It's a place for God. Church is a place that we come to give. The church used to be labeled the temple, or it used to be you would go to the temple to pray to God, or you would go to the temple. And I don't know about you guys, but when I think of temple, I think of seeing these people go up. They're on their knees, like just putting whatever they can up at the altar because they want to please God. That's what worship is what can I take to God so he knows how grateful I am for what he did. Not, hey, I'm going to go to the temple because I'm going to go look at the altar, see if there's, oh, you know what, I need something. Oh, I think that looks good. That doesn't look like it's gone bad. I'm going to take this. So I'm going to No, you don't picture a temple as somewhere where you go to take something. It's where you go to offer something. And that's what the church is supposed to be, the sanctuary. You're going to a place that you're offering to God. You're giving God praise. So what is worship? Google official definition. The feeling or expression of reverence and adoration for a deity. That's what Google said. So in this case, we're coming to love and adore and give to God for what he has done for us. That's what coming to church means. That's what worshiping means. Not, oh, I'm coming so I can get a little knowledge, sound a little smarter, sound a little bit more like, I'm this good person because I go to church, check it off my to-do list. It's, I'm coming to church because I want God to know that I am so grateful that he sent Jesus to die for us. I'm not a parent yet. I'm an uncle. But I can't imagine taking my nephew and saying, you know what, you can have him as long as I get everyone else. Like, I love you guys, but I don't think I would even give up my nephew for you guys. But he did that. We're human. It's hard for us to imagine that kind of love, but he did that. He gave his only son, his one and only son, which has a lot more meaning in their time than it does for us now. A son is a son to us. To them, the first son was their namesake. That was their lineage. So he gave up his only son. The symbol of that was he gave up everything for us. For people that turn him down, turn away, don't want him, could care less. If he's there, he's there. If I get the little tinglies in my finger, that's what we do. We could care less. But when you think of the gravity of what he did, you start realizing, I really should thank him for this. The Bible actually has a really good human example of what worship is. It's in Luke chapter 7, verses 36 through 50. It's the story of when Jesus goes to have dinner with Simon the Pharisee. And while he's there, this sinner woman crashes this dinner and just cries at his feet and pours an alabaster jar of perfume on his feet and is just like in awe, just crying and using her hair to dry his feet and like doing all this stuff. I guess I should just read it. I'll read it. All right. When one of the Pharisees invited Jesus to have dinner with him, he went to the Pharisee's house and reclined at the table. A woman in that town who lived a sinful life learned that Jesus was eating at the Pharisee's house, so she came there with an alabaster jar of perfume. As he stood behind him at his feet weeping, she began to wet his feet with her tears. Then she wiped them with her hair, kissed them, and poured the perfume on them. When the Pharisee who had invited him saw this, he said to himself, "If this man were a prophet, he would know who is touching him and what kind of woman she is, that she is a sinner." Jesus answered him, "Simon, I have something to tell you." "Tell me, teacher," he said. "Two people owed money to a certain moneylender. One owed him 500 denarii and the other 50. Neither of them had the money to pay him back, so he forgave the debts of both. Now which of them will love him more?" Simon replied, "I suppose the one who had the bigger debt forgiven." "You have judged correctly," Jesus said. Then he turned toward the woman and said to Simon, "Do you see this woman? I came into your house. You did not give me any water for my feet, but she wet my feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You did not give me a kiss, but this woman, from the time I entered, has not stopped kissing my feet. You did not put oil on my head, but she has poured perfume on my feet. Therefore I tell you, her many sins have been forgiven, as her great love has shown, but whoever has been forgiven little loves little." Then Jesus said to her, "Your sins are forgiven." The other guests began to say amongst themselves, "Who is this who even forgives sins?" Jesus said to the woman, "Your faith has saved you. Go in peace." All right. Many of you have probably heard that story before. Some of you probably have never heard that. The reason I like to look at this as true worship is this is actually a really good example of the church today versus someone that truly worships. The Pharisee is a representation of the church today, where the church today is fine with being in the presence of Jesus, but we don't have any reverence for who he is. We just think he's another guy, another hobby, another after-school activity that I can go to. But then this sinner comes in, recognizes what this sin is doing to her, what it's going to do to her, where her life is going. So she comes to the feet of Jesus and offers her tears, her kisses, and most importantly, an alabaster jar of perfume. Now, I want to focus on this alabaster jar because I want to show you how much she actually gave to Jesus. The alabaster jar in that time, I did some research. You guys can research to verify this. I recommend anything I'm saying, you always take it back. You check it yourself. But this is going to be a rough picture of this alabaster jar and the value of it. In a previous passage, they talk about a lady that comes and anoints Jesus with an alabaster jar of ointment, perfume. They use these different terms, but it's the same alabaster jar. And I forget which passage it says what it is. It's pure nard. This alabaster jar of perfume or ointment was worth 300 denarii, which in that day, 1 denar for a day laborer, an agricultural worker, whoever, kind of the working class, they would get 1 denarii for their day's wage. And let's say a day is 10 hours for them. They're up as soon as the daylight comes and as soon as the daylight goes away. So you're talking 10 hours. So today's U.S. hourly minimum wage, to put this in our perspective, today's U.S. hourly minimum wage is $7.25, which is Pennsylvania's minimum wage also. So take $7.25 times 10. What's that? $72.50. So one day is $72.50. So you need 300 of these day wages to pay for that alabaster jar. So let's do $72.50, 1 day wage, times 300, which comes out to $21,750. So this alabaster jar values $21,750. And that's 300 days of working to get that. I don't know about you, but that's a pretty expensive jar of perfume. And she brings it to Jesus and pours it on her feet, on his feet. Does this show you the gravity of what it means to give? She gave everything she had. Everything she had, she put into this. As I was researching what this ointment was used for, it was actually a lot of times the ointment that they would use to put scent in the burial cloth. So this is the ointment that she was to be buried with. And you know what she did? She put it on Jesus' feet. She anointed his feet with it. That's true worship, giving it all to God. So when we're standing up here during worship and, I don't know if anyone's going to think I'm going to look stupid or something if I put my hands in the air, that's we're getting caught up in the consumer mindset. What's going to happen to me is what we're getting caught up in. Where we should be like, you know what? I'm going to reach as high as I can to reach for God, because as we said, we're his child. And when you look at a child, what do? They come up to the parent and they put their hands up, hoping that you pick them up. There's also a heavenly example of worship, and this one's in Isaiah. It's Isaiah 6, 2 through 4. Actually, I'll do 1 through 4. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord, high and exalted, seated on a throne, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Above him were seraphim, each with 6 wings. With 2 wings they covered their face, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they were flying. And they were calling to one another, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory. At the sound of their voices, the doorposts and thresholds shook, and the temple was filled with smoke. So, this is an account of Isaiah that he sees these angels, these massive angels, these seraphim, just worshiping God, saying, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. And in consumer church, they would go home that night and say, I don't know, I don't think I really gave it my all in that one, I didn't really do my best, or, that worship, it really wasn't the greatest. I didn't hit that note. That's consumer church. Do you think that's what those angels were doing? No, their thought that whole time, they could be off key, they could be on point, whatever. All that they were concerned with was praising the name of Jesus. That's it. The point that I want you guys to come away from in this is that worship is not getting from God, it's giving to God. So when you go to church on Sunday, maybe prepare yourself. Be more intentional about going. There's 3 questions that I like to ask myself when I go to church. Because some mornings I just wake up and I'm like, I really, really don't want to go. And then I get myself out of bed and I go to church, go to my seat, and I start out and I think to myself, why am I here? Exactly what I've been telling you guys here. Why am I here? I'm here because God gave us a chance by giving Jesus. He gave us a chance. So I'm going to come here and do everything I can to let him know that I am grateful for that chance. So then I say, who am I worshiping? Who am I worshiping? I think of who God is. And I think about, I listened to Louis Giglio at Creation the one year talk about how great is our God. He had this big thing where he talked about the size of stars. And like he did all his ratios and stuff. It's really cool. I recommend it. But that gave me a perspective that God breathed these stars into existence. He breathes and speaks universes into existence. We can't even imagine the thought of going from here to Mars, let alone a massive star that we're as big as a cell on our body to that star. And God still breathed that into existence. So I think, who am I worshiping? I'm worshiping the God that created me. And then when I failed him, he gave me another chance. And every time I fail him, he gave us Jesus so that I can still have a chance to have a relationship with him. So why am I worshiping? I said that again. Why am I here? I want God to know that I am so grateful that he even gave us a chance. That I still have an opportunity to be in his presence because of the sacrifice that he made on the cross. I wanted to bring this to you, and I'm pretty sure God gave me this message to bring to you guys here because a lot of this weekend is going to be worshiping. A lot of where you go from here on out will be being in the presence of God. And I want you guys to not take that for granted and remember what it means to worship, especially through this weekend. So when you come back and we're singing, that you guys aren't still up there just like, I don't know. You're thinking about God and not who's next to you. Don't let church be a check on your to-do list. Come for the right reason. And that's, like I said, to give to God. And if you guys haven't given your life to Jesus yet, you're still kind of wondering, I don't know. I don't know if I'm all in for this yet. I always go with this whole thought of don't put it off till tomorrow because you might not have tomorrow. Hannah hates when I say this, but at Northwest where I work, when I open a new tab, a whole bunch of news articles and stuff will come up, and I'll read random articles here and there. And I was reading one where this guy actually, totally random, an SUV came up, the guy came over, punched him, the guy got knocked out, fell back, head hit the pavement, and he died. Totally random, not expected at all. I mean, no one here is thinking, oh, I'm going to go to Walmart and someone's going to come up to me and punch me in the face. So I don't know. You're not expecting that kind of stuff. So you don't know if you have tomorrow. So why wait till later to give your life to Jesus? And when I say give your life, I'm not saying, I think Jesus is a possibility. I think he's a good guy. No, it's saying, you know what? I believe Jesus made the sacrifice, so I'm going to do everything to make sure this guy sitting next to me knows the same thing. Knows that he doesn't have to deal with this stress alone, that he has Jesus by his side, that he has God. God has laid out answers for us. All these problems that are happening, this hate, all these getting offended and stuff, God has given answers to this. So my recommendation is don't wait. I mean, if you haven't yet, do it. If you have, just remember that it's daily giving to him. All right, let's pray. God, I know this weekend's going to be powerful. I know you have who you need here to be here. Your words are yours. You use us to spread your message, and I just pray that you continue to touch lives, whether it's 100, 200,000, or it's 2, 4, 6, 8 people. Whoever hears your word understands that you love them. I just pray that if anyone's heart is moved to give their life to you, that they'll not pass it by, that they'll take this moment to accept you into their life and to make the commitment to go forward with you in their life. I just pray that you break the consumerism that is in the church today. I pray that you give us a heart of giving. You told us that it's more blessed to give than to receive. And I pray that you instill that in our lives, that we're more willing to give to you, to give to another, to go out and do what you've called us to do. I just really pray over this event tonight. I really hope that tonight and tomorrow, everything this weekend just goes according to your will. Your will is perfect. I pray this all in your name.